Greetings, and welcome to Next Stop Loading, the Growth Series. I am your host, Melissa, aka Stella, overworked millennial turned freshman entrepreneur. So did things really change? Right. Anyhow, each week, I'll bring you a conversation with professional women in various industries that are doing and or have done what the pandemic is teaching all of us to do. Figure it out. As a member of the Great Resignation, this series is dedicated to career and life transition. I hope this series engages and inspires you to grow with us on this journey of navigating this thing called life. I hope you know you're not alone. Join us. Greetings, everyone, and welcome back. I have another special guest with me today, hailing from Chicago, Illinois, currently. That's where I am, and I'm glad to be here at the moment. I have a very special guest, as I mentioned before. I'm going to allow her to introduce herself, if you would, for the viewing and listening audience. Let them know your name and your current occupation.
I am Loren Rodgers, and I am a client operations manager for Innovid.
Client operations manager. Now, I'm going to go back to that in our conversation. We're currently in Chicago. Are you from Chicago?
I am from Little Rock, Arkansas.
Little Rock, Arkansas. How do we get from Little Rock, Arkansas to Chicago, Illinois?
Well, my story is really cliche. I actually wanted to move to Chicago since I was 10 years old.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
I used to come here with a church group. Starting at 10. I came all the way until I was about 18. And we would sneak out on the street, and we would listen to the music and
things I never knew. Okay.
I was super obsessed with the architecture and just, Chicago as a whole. So since I was 10, I came home from that trip and I told my mom, hey, I'm moving to Chicago.
To Chicago. Now, what were you all supposed to be doing on this church trip?
So we did the things that we were supposed to do. Shout out to Payne Chapel AME. But it was just a retreat that I went to once a year where we would go and talk about, all things AME.
What a life. What a life. With that being said, that I never knew that.
Yes.
I never knew that.
Yes,
so
yes.
Since 10, aspiring to come to Chicago. Now, does one just graduate high school and then come to Chicago, or did we have anything between that?
Yeah, so I went to UAB, the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff, and I actually met a lot of people from Chicago there, and so I would visit a lot when I was in college, and I actually moved to Chicago the day after I graduated college. I had some interviews lined up, not quite a job lined up, so it was a pretty risque move.
Why not? Why not?
But I just moved. I had some friends here. I had a couple of interviews lined up. One of my chapter sorors hooked me up. Shout out to AP.
Shout out to AP.
And it worked out. And I honestly have no regrets.
I love it. I don't know many people that said, well, I actually have heard a few stories where people right after graduation, car is packed up,
yes,
ready to go. So yes, you were mine was made up. Regardless of having had secured employment or not, you already knew, listen, we're in Chicago.
Yeah, I had saved up at that point what I thought was a lot of money. It was not a lot of money.
Would you be willing to share with the audience what that amount was that you thought? No judgment. This is a safe Space.
Y'all had like $2,500. $2,500. And I was like, this will last me a few months. If it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Thank God it worked out.
Amen. Because you know what I didn't ask you to do?
Okay.
Was reveal your age.
I am 32.
32 years
32.
young.
Yes.
So you came out here, what, 20?
I was 21.
21.
I was 21.
21 when you moved out, and at 21, $2,500, you about rich.
Listen, I thought it was a lot of money. I really did. Even when I told my mom how much I was moving with, she just looked at me and was just like,
girl,
keep on living.
Right.
Like, you'll understand. I'm gonna let you learn this lesson on your own.
As the old saints say, by and by.
Yes.
By and by. So, traveling at 10 to come to Chicago, made bond up, went to college. And even in college, we sometimes are afforded the opportunity to experience some other places, some other people that are from different places, and you still had your mindset on Chicago. Why is that?
Man, well, it was between Chicago and New York.
Okay.
I just happened to move to Chicago first, and things worked out. And since then, I've traveled to a lot of cities, and Chicago's my favorite city. Sometimes I regret moving to Chicago first because I felt like I wouldn't be so biased. And like now, I just don't want to leave. I don't want to go anywhere else. I can't think of anywhere else where you get all the things. So you get a little beach, you get a little city life. It's not, a super overpopulated city. So it's just like the best of all the things.
Okay.
So
I can dig that.
After moving here, I was just definitely like, I'm good.
So would you say when you were growing up that you traveled often or were well traveled or visited a couple of places?
Growing up, I was not well traveled.
Okay. Understood.
Living in Little Rock, we did the hot spots, is what I call them. So you got Memphis 2 hours away.
Absolutely.
You have Dallas 4 hours away. We did some stuff. Biloxi was my beach.
Of course.
My luxury beach vacation back then.
Absolutely.
So we did things as a family, and it was amazing. But I wouldn't say well-traveled growing up.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So we get to Chicago. We have our $2,500.
Yes.
We have our eyes set on a specific type of career.
Yes.
What would that career be?
So I started out in fashion. My first job in Chicago, I did visuals for Bloomingdale's. It was a great job. I enjoyed it. I thought it was what I wanted to do forever. And then I started working there, and I just realized that it wasn't quite it didn't provide the lifestyle that I wanted to live. Even though I enjoyed the job, there were just some things I didn't like about working in the store.
Gotcha.
In a actual store. No matter how high up you are, you have to work the day before and after Christmas because the store is going to be open. So it was a few things like that just kind of made me rethink what I wanted to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So going straight into the store, is that something you have prior experience with? Is your degree in anything of that nature? How do we go straight to Bloomingdale's out of all of the career choices?
Yeah, so I was a merchandising, textile, and design major.
Okay.
I wanted to be a visual merchandiser or a buyer coming out of college.
Okay.
So I landed what I thought was my dream job at the time. And again, it was a really great experience. But I just really set back being a transplant, knowing that I want to, go home for the holidays. Also, I love to travel. So the PTO situation was not what I needed to be. But again, it was a wonderful experience. I met some great people. I loved the actual job. It was just the lifestyle that was not there.
So to me, you said some key things. One, you identified that this particular job would not afford you the type of lifestyle that you want to live. And you kind of went over those things as far as lifestyle. Being available to do whatever you wanted to do on the holidays is one of them.
Yes.
Right? And then loving to travel, having to necessarily be in the stores is just something you weren't necessarily interested in long term.
Yes.
Right? So after identifying those things, you got some decisions to make. So how do we transition from that, and what was next after that?
Yeah, from there I ended up just kind of going to networking events in the city and hitting up everybody that I knew that was in Chicago, and just, you know, kind of hounding them and asking them, hey, what's going on? Do you know anybody in this industry? Do you know anybody remotely close to this industry?
Okay.
Do you know anybody? Can you hook me up with somebody?
Who do you know? Because I'm looking.
I am looking. And so I started to go to a lot of networking events and just like bumping shoulders with people. And I ended up hooking up with a friend of a friend, and she was like, yeah, I have a really dope position available and I think you'd be great at it. And from there I was a brand rep for a shoe brand. And so my job was to go into stores, so Dillard's, Von Maur, Nordstrom, Lord & Taylor, and give product knowledge seminars and present trend reports. And yeah, it was probably my favorite job to date.
I can imagine, because now, you know, going back up to those things that you mentioned that you wanted in a career, as far as like the availability, and not only availability, the travel. Right?
The travel was there.
What type of places, or was this like regional places you traveled to, or did you go some of everywhere across this nation?
Yeah, so my territory was the central region. So that's everything from, North Dakota to Tennessee to Arkansas, and then all things in between, if that makes sense.
That is so vast to me. Like so, central. Okay.
Yeah, it was about 17 states, but it was the central region, and I traveled Tuesday through Thursday of each week, and I loved it at the time. And I had so many travel points, and I had never bought a flight cash until I left that job. So definitely my favorite job to date.
Perks, people. Perks. Yeah. I love it. I love it. And what I find really neat about that is that you being from Arkansas, you were able to come to Arkansas, and I don't know if I'm able to say this or you're able to admit to it, but like that's like 2 trips in one, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it would just at that point in my life, I would just not come home for the weekend. So I would just wash my clothes at the hotel and then go somewhere for the weekend between where I was and my next stop.
Because
and
why
then,
not?
You know, it was just like I'd be gone for a month with carry on.
That is like, in my opinion, that's ideal.
It was a good time.
Career.
For sure.
Ideal career. So how long were you doing that?
So I did that for a couple of years. Then I realized that I was not able to even enjoy this place where I spent a lot of money to reside. Okay. The taxes, the Chicago taxes.
It's a real thing, guys.
It is a thing. But I just got to a point where I was like, all right, this is cool. I like this. How long will I really be able to do, this whole I'm gone 4 and 5 days out the week thing? So I transitioned.
And life is about transitions. And then really how will you handle them, right? So we go from this particular job, which tell me the name of it again, like your job title?
I was a brand rep.
Brand rep. So we go from a brand rep, still utilizing, somewhat our degree. We're in the area. We're in the area.
It's definitely utilizing the degree at that point.
Okay. Yeah. At this time, did you still consider being a buyer?
No, I think being a buyer had run its course for me at that point. Okay. I started looking at, again, the life I wanted to live and the lifestyle I wanted to live. And this was a very hazy time for me. So I'm about 25 and, life is life and you're trying to figure out.
It's what we call a mid, guys.
For real.
It's a running joke.
Yes.
So not a midlife crisis because we're not quite there, but a mid because we feel like we're supposed to be way further along than we are.
Yes. I had that whole thing of am I doing enough and what do I need to do, and I need to be more present and it's just all the things. And I need a structure, and I thought that just so many things that did not matter, looking back on it. But I also wanted to change. There were so many things happening in the fashion industry and the fast fashion and just all the things. And I decided that I wanted to be in advertising. And so I was like, okay, advertising would be a fun and still very casual career because that was the big thing for me. I want to wear jeans. I want to wear a t-shirt. I want to be able to wear my gym shoes if that's what's going on. I definitely lifestyle drives me more than loving what I actually do. I want to be able to be
into that. I'm definitely gonna get into that.
Yeah.
So before I get into the transition from fashion to advertising, in the midst of your mid, and that's short for midlife crisis, for those that do not know, did you feel, because I heard you say, you were coming up with these things, thinking about, you should be further along than you should, and what are things that you are supposed to have at this moment in your life. Did you determine these things for yourself, or do you feel like there were any societal pressures to have any of these things at this age?
I think it was more I determined this for myself. There was a weird time where I had some family or something wanted to come visit me, and I was like, okay, cool. I'll be home that weekend. I could schedule to be home, and I got home and I was like, damn, this is not a home. My home looked like the hotel. It was just empty. There wasn't, it really looked like, if you had threw together an Airbnb just to make it livable, it just didn't feel like a home. And it was, a byproduct of me never being there. And that was a weird moment that I had. Again, looking back, who cares at 25? You know what I'm saying? I had a home. That's all, that mattered. But yeah, I definitely think it was more of me, just identifying some things that I wanted to do differently and some things that I wanted, for myself.
Okay. Now we transition to advertising.
Yes.
Now we love fashion.
We do.
And when I say we, I mean you.
Do.
We love fashion, yet we make this pivot. Now, had fashion been something, although your degree is in it, it doesn't mean that that's something you've always wanted to do. Was fashion something that you always wanted to do?
Yes, it is what I wanted to do, for sure. Out of college, it's definitely what I wanted to do. In college, coming out of college, yes.
Why was fashion so important to you?
Oh, man, I never
and I feel like I can't
that.
say was, because I feel like it's still a thing. Believe it or not,
it
guys.
Still is. I really I just think it's an amazing way for people to express themselves. You know what I mean? To show who you are, and I feel like people do that through fashion. I love cultural fashion. I like to travel and, see what people are wearing and, like their native garments. Yeah, I don't know. It's something I've always been really into.
So, advertising. We're still in Chicago.
Still in Chicago.
Still enjoying Chicago.
Loving the city.
Loving the city. Now, at this time, we've been in Chicago, what?
Maybe 5 years. Yeah.
Now, in this 5 years, I know you said when you came to Chicago, you had your sorority sister for support when you got here, right? And if you're wondering what sorority, take your best guess and don't play with it. Don't play with it. But you had that support.
I did.
What other support did you have, and did you feel that you needed any additional support other than that?
I had some friends here from college, so that definitely, just made things easier.
So some community.
Yeah, I had some community. So anytime that you know a couple of people, it makes it just makes it easier. It's a funny story with my community, and she knew what she was doing to get me here.
I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it.
So I was in a relationship, and we all had the same friends because we all went to the same college. And then we broke up, and I was like, I gotta find new friends because I'm not about to be hanging out.
Because who wants to be in that same circle?
I'm not. And it was probably one of the best things that ever happened to me because I then had to go and just make all new friends. And there's a really beautiful thing about being a transplant and making adult friends because you really get to choose the people that you want in your life.
It's all intentional at that point. It's very intentional.
It is. And I've been so blessed with my transplant experience here to just meet some wonderful people that are my family and will be forever. We do everything together. It's holidays and travel, and they go home with me, and I visited where they're from. It's really been a great experience as far as just meeting good people here. But you got to get out. You have to get out to meet people. You have to go places. You have to visit the unknown. You have to be okay with being by yourself and going places by yourself. But yeah.
I would say that's great advice. For what you can, get to know somebody. Speak first. That's basic, right? Yeah. Basic level.
And then even when I was trying to get into advertising, I had no experience, so I had to really start over. So I definitely took advantage of all the diverse advertising groups in the city, and not so diverse advertising groups. And I will say some of my best friends here I met at the not diverse advertising events because we would be the only black people there. So we would be like, hey, we friends. We together tonight.
Automatic community.
And so, probably 3 or 4 of my best friends in Chicago, I met on some I met them at an event, and we were like the only 2 black people there. And we were like, okay, well, we're friends. We'll navigate this event
we'll figure it out
together tonight. And, those relationships took off from there.
So advertising. Help me draw the connection, because how do we pivot from fashion to advertising? To me, that's a hard pivot.
It is. And I was actually trying to get into advertising, and I ended up in ad tech. And I still work in ad tech. But again, it was more of me saying like, okay, what job can I get that's still cool, super casual? I mean, casual in, it's not a stuffy office environment. The culture is good. I can, be myself and, say whatever I want to say. And I'm really big on being myself. So I was really looking for just a very casual work-life balance that would provide me with the lifestyle that I want to live. So, money, PTO.
Hello, somebody.
But then still something that was cool and fast-paced that would keep me motivated and keep me, locked in.
So prior to pursuing this particular industry, what information had you had prior to that to even pique your interest in that particular industry?
Well, I'd say I took some marketing courses in college, and all those things are kind of intertwined. I'm really into what makes people tick, and what makes them think the way they do, what influences their purchases and why they purchase, the way that they do. And so it's just something that I'd always been into, so it just made sense.
Okay.
As it did align with all the other things that I was looking for.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I recall you saying that when you made this pivot, because you didn't have any prior experience necessarily, and I would put some air quotes around that because
what is experience? What is it?
Take the words out of my mouth. Why don't you? Like, that's an entirely different conversation.
Yes.
We're on something different today. We'll have that at another time. But having necessarily any direct experience in advertising, you mentioned that you had to start over.
Yeah, I had to start over. I had been applying for jobs. Again, just like for entry-level jobs, you had to have experience, and I didn't have experience,
And that's so crazy to
all
me.
of my internships were in fashion-related areas and stuff. So, I tried manipulating the things on my resume to kind
Of course, transferable skills.
Yes. I tried it, and it just wasn't working, and I was like, all right, well, if I'm going to make this happen, I need to do it now at this point in my life, because I don't know why I felt the need to be so...
She had a timeline, as you all can see.
I did have a timeline to success. But yeah, I was thinking that I had to just take a big step back and start over, and I did. So I started applying for like account coordinator roles within agencies, and I finally landed one at the company that I'm still with today. So
that is awesome, because it sounds like you had an opportunity to not only gain experience, but also grow with the company.
Yeah, I've actually had a really wonderful experience growing with my company. I've been there for 6 years now. I've held about 6 different positions in those 6 years.
You don't hear that often at one company.
Yeah, especially in advertising. People typically jump around. Like, nobody's spending more than 2 years at a job. But I've really had a nice experience at my company. I always want to say I'm blessed, but I think that I'm also deserving because I work my butt off. So,
and two things can be true at the same time. Pat yourself on the back. Okay?
Yes. But yeah, I have been blessed with a really good experience of just recently my last 2 roles. I actually sort of created what that role would look like for myself.
Okay.
And so, anytime that you have a say-so in what you're doing, what your day-to-day looks like, I think your projects just come to you a lot more organically.
I can see that.
And so overall, it's definitely been a good experience.
So 6 roles.
Don't make me name them.
I won't.
Okay.
I won't. But I will say, when you started at this particular position, as we mentioned, you said you had to start over.
Yes.
And in starting over, you've experienced 6 different roles within a company.
Yes.
And your current position again being?
Client operations manager.
What does a client operations manager do?
Oh, I do a lot of things.
Because, for those that have no clue about advertising, how simple can we make that job role?
Okay, so I'd say it's a twofold role. So on one hand, I manage a team a team of account managers that oversee the day-to-day operations of just campaigns, online video campaigns. And then on the other hand, I identify gaps in process and do everything that I can to mitigate risk operationally for the company and our vendor programs.
So are you the direct contact if I'm an agency that wants to use your particular ad agency to market whatever it is that my product is? Are you that contact?
So I'm typically linking you up with someone from sales because they handle more of the onboarding of clients and things like that. But I do manage the team that works with day-to-day contact. So I am in constant contact with agencies and, clients and brands and things of that nature.
So you have a team.
I do have a team.
Can someone say elevation? Promotion.
Yes.
We speak that over your lives. Ladies and gentlemen. Were you ever in a client-facing position?
Yeah, so I spent my first 4 years at the company in a client-facing position where I managed an auto book of business. I managed an entertainment book of business for a little while. I managed an alcohol beverage book of business for a while. So I did some client-facing work for about 4 years.
I dig it. Now, day to day, the things that you named that you said you wanted out of career as it relates to the lifestyle you wanted for yourself, would you say that you're currently afforded those things?
I am afforded those things. The ability to work remote for as long as I'd like to.
This is pre-COVID, guys.
Pre-COVID, yeah. The PTO situation, the work-life balance, the advertising has a very fun culture, so we go out for drinks, you wine and dine clients, you do all the things. So that was another large part of wanting to be a part of this industry because it's a really fun, can be a bit of a party industry.
And who is saying no to that, guys? I mean, are you saying? Because let me tell you something. You mentioned that you're in ad tech.
Yes.
And you said that ad tech is different from advertising. How so?
Oh,
because I'm gonna put it all together. It don't make you an advertiser, the commercials and okay.
Yeah, so advertising again is kind of what you see as far as commercials and things of that nature. While I do work with online video and connected TV and assets and all those things that are part of advertising. We have a lot of technology functions behind our product as a company. So we make videos interactive. So the things that you see that are like pop-ups that you can click out or put your zip code in there, and now you're served with an ad that is most relevant to you or something like that. Yeah. So we do. What else do we do that makes us technology? We do a lot of measurement. So we provide clients with just a lot of personalized data on their clients.
Right.
And, maybe in the area, or we do a lot of segmentation and targeting. So I'd say ad tech is definitely more data driven.
Okay. I can see that. That makes sense. That makes sense. So previously you also mentioned that when you were going to like networking events that you had your diverse ad agencies, and then you had your not so diverse ad agencies. And before I ask that specific question, would you say that advertising agencies are just prominent in Chicago?
I would say at that point it was New York, LA, and Chicago. And a little action in Atlanta. Okay. But I think as over the years, it's definitely started to grow and spread a bit.
Okay. Now, back to it being diverse and non-diverse. Okay. Obviously, you kind of mentioned when you started, you didn't see a lot of diversity.
No.
Was that just your experience here in Chicago, or was that a thing when you would visit the other major cities you mentioned as well?
Oh, no. I think that overall there's just not a ton of black people in advertising. That number is rapidly growing. But I think it's a thing. Like, there are just not a lot of black people in advertising.
Okay. How do you, as a black woman, navigate that, or I would say model or make sure that black people are seen, hired, have a voice at your current employer?
So, I've done a couple of things over time. It's just something that I'm really passionate about personally. So not, directly tied to my employer, just in general. So I had a Road Less Travel program that was at a high school that I mentored at. And so basically there we would talk about, just career paths that were not... I guess it's not the doctor, lawyer, teacher, not your average career paths. And we would just create a vision board of the lifestyle that they wanted to live. And then we would kind of work in reverse to find jobs that would actually support those lifestyles. And I would do a segment on advertising for that. And then recently I launched a minority internship program at my current company.
Well, that is awesome. And it's a perfect segue to my next question. For those that are visually watching, you'll see that I am taking notes now on a paper towel. Mind your business. You mentioned the young people that you mentored and diversifying career pathways.
Yes.
You're from the South.
I am.
32. What year were you born?
89.
Still an 80s baby, guys. Yes. Still an 80s baby.
Yes.
When we were growing up, ideal occupations, as you name, doctor, lawyer, teacher. I don't know. After the trifecta, it's you really didn't hear about other things. I definitely did not hear about advertising when I was growing up. That's not something that was, to my knowledge, explored at my school, at neighboring schools, any of that. So it's really interesting to hear that someone is talking about it. Someone is trying to, get that information to young people, especially how rapidly the world is changing.
Yes.
Like, they already talk about skills gaps, and most of the time, in my opinion, correct me if I'm wrong, or share your perspective, when they talk about skills gap, often they're talking about the industries that baby boomers are retiring from at a rapid rate, and those would typically be those industries that are getting faded out anyway. Like, we're using machinery and things to replace those jobs, but not even getting into like advertising. Like, of course, individuals can stay longer in some of these positions because it's less physically demanding. However, they're going to retire. And if we're not preparing a generation, to replace that, then we're in trouble.
Yeah, for sure.
So how, in your opinion, how else can can opportunities be provided for young people to know more about diversifying career pathways such as advertising?
I mean, honestly, I'm going to put a little onus on these companies to also visit, HBCUs and visit, the Black Student Union of, maybe even a PWI if you are going to an event, using your contacts and your networks to sort of figure out ways to better seed the pipeline with diverse candidates. HR departments, it's time for you guys to step up. And if you can't step up, then these companies are going to hire some people who do organically have the network.
Absolutely.
The network for diverse candidates, right? And not just Black. I'm talking Asian, I'm talking Hispanic. We have ideas, we are being targeted as well, right? So I think we should definitely be pushing our companies to do the work. DEI is a big thing right now. All the companies are post 2020 investing in DEI. So I would just expect for companies to hire a DEI consultant. Don't put the work on your Black employees. We're tired. We're trying to maneuver this space ourselves.
Repeat that.
I think putting that responsibility on companies, on HR departments, on the people that are actually running point to invest there. Like, of course, we're doing everything that we can to give back and, go to your colleges and go back to your alumni programs and go back to your, high schools and things of that nature. But I think if we really want to see the needle move, then the companies are also going to have to do the work.
I love it. 6th year, this particular employer, you love it here, it's providing you all of the things. In reference to your timeline, does your timeline still exist?
There's always something. There's always something. I don't really have a timeline anymore. Actually, I think post 30, all that just became like, you've done the things that you said you wanted to do. Like, 10-year-old you would be proud.
Aww.
Mom would be proud. And those are the things that really, I'd say, drove me overall. So now I think I'm just trying to figure out I love my lifestyle, right? Maybe eventually I'll, do things that I'm more passionate about. So figuring out how to intertwine the two in the future. So yeah. No actual timeline.
I like it though. Yeah. Whether you kept the timeline or didn't keep the timeline, if it works for you, I'm here to support it. That was a great. You keep throwing me like alleys, and I'm a former basketball player, and I know what to do with an alley. Yeah. So what I did not mention when we opened the podcast episode was that I've known this young lady probably since she was 10.
Yeah, literally 10. It was maybe 11.
Maybe 11. Yeah. That's when we met, right? Yes. And interesting environment. We ended up at the same middle school together, nice. And we played the sports, and that's how we kind of met. And we were like, you know what? We should probably hang out.
We probably should.
We should hang out.
We should be friends.
And our friendship has blossomed over the years. I love this lady.
Love you too.
Love this lady. So to have somewhat of like a front row to this journey has been nothing short of just amazing to watch, right?
Thank you.
She as she mentioned before, she had a timeline. I've always been aware of this timeline. Never hated on the timeline. I just knew that was my girl's thing, right? And I think that having some sort of, if not a timeline, some sort of plan to where you're going is important, right?
Yeah, so now I'd say that I don't really have a timeline, but I plan quarterly. So my goals are planned out on a quarterly basis. You know, that gives me enough time to make sure that I'm always working towards something. Like, I need to have something that I'm working toward. That's just how I'm geared. So the older I got, I just realized, like, okay, you don't have to have this by this age. You need to have this by this age. You need to have that. But you need to figure out, you know, where you're trying to go and what you're trying to get and what that looks like. So I do plan quarterly as far as like my goal setting.
Gotcha. So I'm going to get into some questions that are a little less professional, but still have to do
for these.
Right. Still have to do with like your time here in Chicago. So obviously, as you all have heard, you've been career focused. You wanted a career to support your lifestyle. Now, you also mentioned that you were in a relationship that kind of loosely, not really, but did bring you to Chicago, right?
No. My relationship did not bring me to Chicago. I started dating a guy once I got here that also went to the same college that I went to. So we had all the same friends.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
I stand corrected.
It just put me in the position to say, like, hey, okay, well, I don't want to run in this circle exclusively anymore.
Right.
Still friends with all those people, love them to death. But I needed my own circle, and I needed my own friends, and I needed some adult friends that had my, you know, that were like-minded and wanted to do the things that I wanted to do and I enjoyed. And so I think that jump-started the friend search or tribe search.
The end of relationship jump-started the tribe search.
Yes.
But also afforded you the opportunity to develop your support system.
Yeah. Still now, I mean, one of my best friends here is my friend from college, but I definitely have a support system, you know, within some of the friends that I've met here in the city.
And what I've learned during this series of interviews is oftentimes, and I did say I stand corrected, that a relationship did not bring her to Chicago.
No.
But in some of the interviews that I've done, relationships were a reason that the women relocated. With that being said, oftentimes, even if we relocate or we don't relocate, companionship is a thing that we're concerned about, right?
Yeah.
How did you enjoy dating in this new city where you really didn't know too many people?
Oh, I had a blast.
Oh, yeah?
It was fun. Dating was fun because I dated without intentions. Like, I wasn't looking to be in a relationship. So anytime that you allow yourself to take things at face value and appreciate it for what it is, it just makes the experience that much better. So yeah, I was young. We went out like Thursday to Sunday back then.
What a time!
May dabble on Tuesdays.
You know,
what a time to be
what
alive.
a time.
But yeah, like, dating was fun. I met a lot of people. You know, you went on some dates and you would be like, okay, I know somebody that's perfect for you. Like, we're gonna be friends because we're cool. You know, like we're like vibing as like friends,
right.
But I know the girl for you, you know? And I had a couple of those scenarios. You know, I met
Let me find out you're Cupid out here.
I am Cupid, actually. I throw oops too.
Anyway, okay. So dating was a good time.
Dating was a good time
in this city that provided us with all the fun opportunities to meet new people, to meet people that, like you said, were like-minded somewhat.
Yes.
Ambitious, would you say?
Yes.
Do you think that being in a larger city widen the pool of, I would say, I don't want to say eligible bachelors, but like diversified the pool at least?
I mean, it definitely widened the pool. You're in a new city. You don't have friends. You don't have to worry about like not dating your friends' friends.
Absolutely.
Or your friends' exes or guys and stuff like that. That's a limitation. The Black professional scene here is large, you know, so you were able to meet lots of people. And it was just, so I definitely think that the pool is, you know, just by default larger here in the city.
I love
as far
it.
As dating.
I love it. Would you say that the city afforded you opportunities to diversify friendships and or relationships outside of your race?
I think I've always just had all types of friends. I don't think that that's something that was that happened because I moved to Chicago. I've always been an eclectic person, I'd say.
Okay.
So I've definitely always had a diverse group of friends.
What would you say in being a transplant and or relocating or have lived here for the amount of time that you have, what has been some of your most significant challenges?
I got laid off from a job before. I think that was probably one of my biggest challenges, being here and being so young. But it was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Why would you say that?
I will never, and honestly, I don't know that I had any, the company was just doing layoffs. But I will never not be the most, you know, one of the most important people on my team.
Hello, somebody.
You know what I mean? Like, I work very hard. I need to, ever since then, I've always wanted to just know that, like, I'm definitely an asset to my team. Just threw me into another gear as far as work ethic. Like, I would say that I've always been a hard worker, you know, but when you're young, you know, you take some things for granted and you lollygag sometimes. But after that moment, I definitely was just like, yeah, I'm going to put my 110% into any job that I do, so that, you know, if this ever comes around again, I will not be on the chopping block. You will not be in that number. You hear me? You will not be in that number. So laid off before, when you were laid off, or at any time, have you ever considered either, I'm not going to say either or either, did you ever consider returning home? No, it wasn't an option for me personally. I may have, you know, moved somewhere if I found the right opportunity. But I never considered moving back home specifically.
Is there anything that I have not asked you that you would like to share with our listeners about your experience?
I would just say that I would say travel. The more you travel, the more comfortable you get with the unknown. I would also say if you want to relocate, just do it. There's nothing stopping you but you. And if you're worried about failing, shift your mindset. You know what I'm saying? Because if you do relocate to a new city, the worst case scenario is you go home. And you're home now. So is home so bad? You know what I mean? But if you shift your mindset to say, you know, okay, I went somewhere, it didn't work out, now I'm going somewhere else, versus like I failed or I didn't make it or I didn't, you know what I mean? So I would just say, you know, just do it. And I think the more you travel and get more comfortable, going different places, and I think you'll be happy with your decision.
I like it. I like it.
I don't know. I travel a lot, and I think that it's definitely been it's definitely a big part of my life and a part of, you know, my humility and some of the things that just really drives me is being able to travel and afford travel and things like that. So I think the more you get out there and experience life and what it has to offer, the more you'll be motivated to get the things.
I like it. I think that's great advice. I think that's great advice. Now back to, as we close out this episode, I want to take the time to thank Mrs. Rodgers.
Thank you for having me.
Taking the time out of her busy schedule to oblige me in this interview and share with you all. Should anyone have any questions, where can they find you? Now, I want to preface that by saying that you don't have to share contact information at all, but should you like to, where can the people find you?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. My LinkedIn is Loren Rodgers. That's RODGERS.
Now, is Loren spelled traditionally?
Oh, I'm sorry. LOREN.
Get it right.
RODGERS. Yeah, hit me up. I'm here to just talk. I'm here to bounce ideas off of. I'm here to look over resumes, all the things that people, you know, did for me to help jumpstart me.
I love
in the right
it.
Direction.
Way to be a support. And as we close this out, I would like for you to tell the people what that is on your shirt, what that reads.
Women don't owe you shit.
Women don't owe you shit. Good day, everybody. We'll holler. Bye guys.